Welcome to Boston. This is the Boston Common, which is right next door to the Public Garden, which is not to be confused with the Boston Garden, which is something completely different in a different part of town. So we're just taking a look at some of the folks gathering for the race. This is about an hour before the race starts, and just taking a look around. This tent that you're seeing right here in the middle of the screen is for after the race. When we come through the finish line, we're going to go through that tent and gather our post-race goodies. A little bit of the Boston skyline here. Coming around. The gear check tent is where we keep our things that we're not going to take on the course with us. Some more at the skyline. Registration for this year's race was limited to 10,000 registrants, and it pretty much sold out. There are about 8,892 finishers. And here are some of the folks getting ready to go. The first mile. Run the first mile together. So this is a self-seeded race, which means that we organized ourselves according to our pace in minute per mile. So I normally run about 9.5 to 10 minutes per mile. So that's where I situated myself here. And there were so many people, and that it took so long for us to actually get to the start line once the gun went off, that the finisher of the race, the winner, had finished the race about 5 minutes before we started, which is not unusual. So we've just taken a left onto Boylston Street, pardon me, a right on Boylston Street, off of Charles Street. The original course had the first mile ending on Beacon Street, right in front of the Massachusetts State House. But the course changed a couple years ago, and we have what we have today. One of our famous, many famous churches in Boston. The original plan, as we take a right onto Arlington, was to film this using a GoPro setup, which I actually went to Best Buy for to purchase the necessary equipment to do that. And I was standing there in the middle of the store, and I chickened out and I left. So this is filmed on my regular Coolpix digital camera. So coming up, we're going to be taking a left onto Commonwealth Ave, or Com Ave for short. We're where the rest of the mile 1 will be taking place. And here we go. So the first mile ends about 5 or 6 blocks straight ahead of us. In the race itself, we will continue down Comm Ave all the way to Charles Gate East, where we will turn under the Mass Avenue Bridge and come back up Comm Ave to Hereford Street. See the brownstones of Boston. They're on Comm Ave. Coming up in just a moment is the first of 2 water stops in the race. It was a nice sunny day, so the water stops were pretty popular, even though it was only 8:30 in the morning. You can see that Ryder truck parked there. The water stop is just after that. Alright, it's not Ryder, it's Penske, but you know what I meant. And here we are.
Sorry.
near the end of the first mile. I was trying to show my time there. Picking up the action just after the start of mile 3 on Boylston Street. We have just taken a right onto Hereford, up the hill on Hereford, and then a left onto Boylston. Boylston Street is where the marathon finish line is, which we will be running through but not stopping at. The marathon finish line used to be our finish line also, but with the new route, that also changed. But we still get to run through it though, which is very exciting. Boylston Street is also where the Heinz Convention Center is, where the expo takes place. Didn't need to go to the expo this year because, again, with the changes, all the 5K folks had their materials sent to them in the mail to their home. So there was no need to go to the expo. Of course, you still could if you wanted to. And that little bridge across the street there, or where the media people go for the marathon. These are the bleachers outside the main building of the Boston Public Library, which is just down the street from the marathon finish line. There it is. Continuing down Boylston, we are almost at the end of our race, but we're not quite there yet. Starting to walk now. Walking is allowed. I don't like to do it, but it's allowed. In the last couple hundred yards of our race, as we take our left back onto Charles Street, the finish line is just up Charles Street from where the start line was. There's the sign marking the end of mile 3. So 1/10 of a mile left to go.
10 kilometers in June and the half marathon in October.
It's a big spectator crowd at this point, as it was near the marathon finish line and all the way down Boylston. You can just see the finish line coming into view now as we pass the entrance to the underground parking garage. Jeremy Clarkson on the BBC would say, across the line.